Welcome to another amazing studios session. Subscribe to the Postal Blue podcast on all streaming platforms and check out Amazing Studios on YouTube for video content. Also follow the Postal Blue podcast community on X, formerly known as Twitter. We appreciate all the support we're getting and thanks for listening.
What's going on, everybody? This is your boy LA Styles, aka Ice. Excuse my voice. It is late, but I did have a message sent to me about addressing this issue just for clarification purposes. This is not a full episode, right? This is not a full episode. This is a 0.5 joint. Excuse me. This is a 0.5, right? This is informational and educational purposes in between a full episode, right? These are short stories, right? So, and keeping it short, this is addressing what's a grievance, right? We have a misunderstanding between possibly on the craft side, my bad. On the craft side, on management side as well, but in this particular case, we're speaking about the craft side. Not everything is a grievance, right? I'm gonna read you something from the NALC.org website. You can go over to the NALC.org website. I will say this. The site seems kind of too much. It seems like it has a lot going on and I can't find things when I want it. You guys might be having that issue as well, especially if you're new, but it's over there. So when we address certain things, especially if it's out of the contract, we will try to tell you where you can get it from or where you can go directly to see it or read it for yourself. Okay, going forward, we will give you guys that information. I apologize if we've came across any of that already without giving you where you can find that information for yourself, right? Knowing is half the battle, right? So I don't ever want you to per se take our word for as gold. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that we're going to do going forward. If I give you something out of the contract, I'm going to tell you where it's at, or we're going to tell you where you can find that at in the contract, right, for yourself. So we're going to start adding that to the shows if you're picking something directly out of the contract that's that you guys can go to. Okay. So directly on the NALC.org, it says what is a grievance, and it's going to sound like kind of like legal jargon a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Lawyer talk. I will break it down very simple after this. We're going to try to keep this short. All right, very short. All right, what is a grievance? This is on the NALC.org. Make sure you go check it out, NALC.org. There is one. I'm going to read one too for the other craft because there's a general one that's on the APWU. Matter of fact, let me go read that one first. I'm going to read that one first. APWU.org. Now, if everybody know, all of the craft are under the APWU. There's a lot of things in our contracts that's either the exact same or extremely similar, right? Of course, there's key differences because our job descriptions are different, but there's a lot of things that go for everybody across the board, right? So know the difference. Right. So on the APWU.org website, right? This is called the grievance procedure, but it has the base of what the grievance is at the top part, or a little bit after the top part. And I'll go into what it say on the NALC part. Okay. Grievance procedure, Article 15, but we're not going to go through the whole procedure unless y'all feel like y'all need that information. But that would typically be for stewards. I mean, I guess it could be for, I'm going to go through the procedure too. All right, because it ain't just cut and dry. It's going to be real quick. Let me get through that. Then we're going to get to the meat and potatoes. So give me about 60 seconds, right? Article 15 of the collective bargaining agreement governs the grievance procedure between the APWU and the Postal Service. A grievance is defined in Article 15 as a dispute, difference, disagreement, or complaint between the parties related to wages, hours, and conditions of employment. That definition is very broad, right? Cool. Sit that there. We'll be back. You should never let a postal supervisor or manager tell you that you don't have a grievance, quote unquote. You don't have a grievance. If you have questions about whether or not you have a grievance, you should request union time from your immediate supervisor to meet with a local steward. The grievance procedure consists of 4 steps. Step 1, where an individual meets and discusses the issue with the supervisor. Step 2, where a union official meets a postal service official if the issue was not resolved at step 1. Step 3, where a national APWU representative meets with an area postal official if resolution does not occur at step 2. And step 4, finally, binding arbitration in front of a neutral arbitrator selected jointly by the parties to hear the grievance. So if you ever hear that someone said we sending it up at whatever step that you send it up at is going to the next step, right? Those are the 4 steps. So if you're going to fight something all the way, it's going up those 4 steps if there's not more. But if this is up to date, then it's going up those 4 steps. Okay, cool. 60 seconds passed. What is a grievance? We are back on the NALC.org. Okay. Article 15, Section 1 of the National Agreement provides the following definition of a grievance. And then again, it's going to sound like legal jargon. And then I'm going to break it down like real simple to you. A grievance is defined as a dispute, difference, disagreement, or complaint between the parties related to wages, hours, and conditions of employment. A grievance shall include, but is not limited to, the complaint of an employee or of the union which involves the interpretation, application of, or compliance with the provisions of this agreement or any local memorandum of understanding not in conflict with this agreement. Right? Put that there. Just hold on. Article 15.1 sets forth a broad definition of a grievance. This means that most work-related disputes may be pursued through the grievance/arbitration procedure. The language recognizes, by language they're saying the writing in the contract. The language recognizes that most grievances will involve the national agreement or a local memorandum of understanding. Other types of disputes may be handled within the grievance procedure, may include, and then it goes into Article 19. Excuse me. Right. Matter of fact, let's include that right quick because it's kind of part of it. Alleged violations of postal handbooks and manuals. Article 19 provides that those postal handbooks and manual provisions directly relating to wages, hours, or working conditions are enforceable as though they were part of the national agreement. Changes to handbook and manual provisions directly relating to wages, hours, or working conditions may be made by management at the national level and may not be inconsistent with the national agreement, right? NALC may challenge such proposed changes at the national level. Locally developed policies may not vary from national established handbook and manual provision. This is what we're going to do. Right. So to break that down, right? There's an agreement, right? We talk about the contract. There's an agreement negotiated between the Postal Service and the APWU, right? And the APWU has multiple unions under its umbrella, right? Including, in this instance, the NALC, right? Which is the representation for carriers. Okay. So the carriers have their own individual contract with the Postal Service, and the clerks have their own contract. The truck drivers have their own contract. Mail handlers have their own contract. I don't know what's going on with my voice right now. Excuse me. So, simply put, both sides had to sit down at a table and negotiate terms. What they want, what they don't want, what they willing to go for, what they willing not go for. Regular, typical negotiation BS. You know what I'm saying? Cool. Then when the two sides came to something suitable for both that they can work with, they signed it. That's the contract, right? In that, it breaks down between that and the M. It breaks down for everything that they agreed upon. It pretty much breaks down how you supposed to go about doing things, such as overtime. It addresses overtime and how you can give out overtime. Then there's a detailed version that breaks down exactly how overtime's supposed to go, right? And it's like that for every single thing that we agreed upon that was settled in the contract between us two. So it's long. Pause if need be, right? So a grievance is when that's suspected of being violated. Anything in there is suspected of being violated. Now, you can file a grievance just like you can file a lawsuit in real life. You can sue anybody, right? And say, I got a lawsuit on Donald Trump. That don't mean you're going to win your lawsuit. That don't mean you got a good case. That don't mean anything just because you sue somebody just because you can do it, right? So yes, you can file a grievance or attempt to file a grievance for anything, but everything is not a grievance. It has to be a violation of the contract. Everything, let me tell you, is in the contract. Even dignity and respect covers a lot. That's in the contract. Dignity and respect is what it's called. It's in the contract. You can just use whatever search engine you look up USPS, dignity and respect, right? If I'm not mistaken, which I'm pretty sure I'm not, but let's just say I could be, because there's always a chance. Look up USPS, dignity and respect. I'm pretty sure it's in all of our contracts under the APWU. We have to treat each other and talk to each other a certain way. And if we do not, if you want to use profanity, if you want to yell, if you want to use disrespectful terminology, if you want to belittle, demean people on the workroom floor, you violate dignity and respect. Right? You violate dignity and respect. Therefore, you just caused a grievance, or whoever it was just called a grievance. Somebody could file a grievance. Why? Because now you created a hostile work environment for one, and which is an EEO offense as well. But you violate the contract by having a hostile work environment, and we can't have a hostile work environment. One, then two, dignity and respect. You was calling people out of their names or the floor, whatever the case is, and you can't do that. Right? That's a grievance. You cannot file a grievance just because you don't like what someone says. They didn't curse at you. They didn't yell at you. They didn't use disrespectful terms, intentionally demean you or anything of that nature. That's not a grievance because you don't like how management gave you overtime, or how they said, hey man, you got 2 hours on 91. He said, man, I don't like you just because you feel some type of way. I mean, I don't like how the way she said that, man. I'll file a grievance. That's not a grievance. Right? So know what a grievance is. Typically, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm going to keep on saying that because anything's possible. If I'm not mistaken, it's any violation of the actual contract, of the actual agreement, the national agreement. That's an actual grievance. That's something that you can file paperwork on and win. Because that's a grievance. Other than that, you're just filing a grievance just to be filing a grievance. And again, if you don't know what a grievance is, or you think you might have a grievance and not sure, versus jumping out the window, ask for steward time if you're on the clock, and talk to your steward if they have time that day or the next day or whatever the case is. Or if you and your steward cool or very cordial and they don't mind talking about that type of stuff in their free time, call them up or text them and ask them. You know what I'm saying? That's how I learned a lot. I'm gonna shout out Rob from when I was a CCA. I think he was at West Milwaukee at the time. And I used to text Rob a lot. Hey Rob, when I was a CCA, and it was things that I thought was grievances, right? And I was wrong about. Working over this, working on that, so on, so on. So I thought was grievances, but they weren't. Now, there's a lot of things though at the time that was grievances, and I learned what those things was. And although Rob might have got tired of me contacting him or texting him, you know what I'm saying? I learned, and I'm thankful that he did give me information. That's what started me in really learning to getting the ball rolling with me to learn more about figuring out the contract stuff. And then that's what also prompted me, because I'm not the only one that had questions. I wasn't really asking for me a lot of the time. I'm asking because I'm seeing things going on and we unsure. And my station didn't have a steward at the time. Right. So that's why I try to give the information as well, no matter what side I'm on, because I remember how I felt when I didn't have the resources to know if I was being violated or not. And Mike can tell you, we got violated a lot. We missed so many grievances back in our CCA days of the 2 years that it was crazy with not having an in-house steward, because we was doing the most. Right. But again, I think Rob and everybody else that I talked to, with is mostly Rob. So definitely shout out Rob. I learned a lot from him. And that's what got the ball rolling with me to learn more and more and more. And just ask, man. Just ask. Don't be afraid to ask. Always ask questions. We human, so we assume a lot. And again, we do get emotional, especially with some of us being overly emotional, especially if you are CCA or PTF nowadays. You really won't know until something happens. But when you think something might have happened that it shouldn't have, talk to your steward. Reach out, get the information, pay your dues, or if you don't pay your dues. If you want to learn more or be more involved, go to your union meetings, right? Typically happen once a month, probably different days of the month for different branches in different cities, different states, things of that nature. Go to your union meetings, contact your steward, get the information. Sometimes your safety captains also know a lot of information. Shout out safety captains out there. Shout out stewards out there. Shout out supervisors that also give that information as well. Shout out managers if there's any out there that give that information as well to their new hires. Right. This is how we keep our retention up and we retain employees, which we desperately need right now. Right. So that's all I got to say about that. Again, not everything is a grievance. Not everything is a grievable offense. You can file the grievance, you know what I'm saying, if you want to. But if it's not an actual violation, then I don't see anything happening from it. You know what I'm saying? It don't make sense for something to happen from it if it wasn't a violation. Again, long as you guys are being respectful, they're not. Again, I say you on the craft side, as long as the management not calling you out your name, typically demeaning you, using certain type of language, belittling you, and things of that nature, it's most likely not a grievance just because you don't like that person, which typically means we are emotionally invested in a situation and we already got something against that person because we just got built up whatever animosity for whatever past dealings you guys have. So now every time they talk to you, you feel some type of way. I think I said on another episode that management can give you instructions. They can ask you questions. They can talk to you. It still is a job. You know what I'm saying? You still do have somebody to report to, in a sense. So can't make that personal. Can't make that personal. You're going to dread coming to work every day if you attempt to make that personal. Right? Learn how to disconnect that. And then follow the black and white. Follow the guidelines. Put your paperwork in. Or ask questions first. Get the information. And then if you got something legit, then put your paperwork in. Okay? Violations of the contract. Violations of the contract. Typically, if you don't know what's in the contract, you might not know what a violation of the contract is. The national agreement. Check with your stewards. So again, sometimes you can check with the safety captains. A lot of safety captains are almost like stewards in a sense, right? They know information. Even things with safety is in the agreement, right? They can violate safety and that'll be a grievance, right? So everything is in the contract. It writes down. It's notated how something's supposed to be, what's supposed to be done, and how things are supposed to be done. Anytime it's not on that schedule, then most likely it's a grievance. And again, I say most likely because a lot of stuff determines, but most likely, and I'm like 98% sure it's going to be a grievance. I'm just leaving that 2% open as a window. But yeah, if they violate the contract, it's a grievance. But know what they're violating, or ask. If you feel like you're violated, ask. if you feel like you violated. I repeated that for a reason. With that, I want to keep this short. I'm gonna get up out of here. Y'all have a good one, man. This is the middle of the week. I'm gonna try to get this up for Thursday for you guys. It is Wednesday night, 8:14. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to the Postal Blue podcast on all. Excuse me. Look, and I'm up late at night doing this, man. My voice is trash right now. I done had like over a 12-hour day. Something crazy. And that's of work, not just whatever, being up. So make sure you follow the Postal Blue podcast. Make sure you on all streaming platforms. If you use the Foundation app, Foundation has an app, you know what I'm saying? You can actually earn Satoshis, which is the smallest form of cryptocurrency with Bitcoin. Smallest increments of Bitcoin. Satoshis, you can earn Satoshis listening to podcasts. So you can earn Satoshis listening to us, because we're over there, Postal Blue Podcast, on Foundation, along with all other streaming services. Right? Y'all go do that. Make sure you share. Sharing is caring. Check us out on YouTube, Amazing Studios. All the podcasts will be over there as well under Amazing Studios on that channel. Subscribe to Iced Coffee. Subscribe to Unjustified Behavior. With that, y'all have a good one. I'm about to chop this up. It's 11:30 at night, and I'm out of here. Peace.
Subscribe to the podcast for all future episodes and make sure to share with someone. We appreciate everyone, and there's a lot more to come.